Hello, I'm Noel Johnston, Senior Irrigation Consultant from ARIS. Today I'll be doing some practical soil profiling and salinity management demonstrations. The DVD is designed to be used as a visual tool in conjunction with the workshop manuals and fact sheets that have been produced for the Training to Grow Your Business training program. The DVD will demonstrate the how-to approach to undertake practical on-farm assessment of your soil and salinity management issues as outlined in the training program. In this session of the DVD, we'll be doing soil profiling and texturing. One of the first things you need to do before you can start doing your soil sampling is select the sites, the position of the samples. So in a case like this, in a poly house, you'll normally take a transect diagonally across the poly house with 2 or 3 holes, down one row, 2 or 3 holes, and then come back on a zigzag the other end with another 2 or 3 holes. So about 9 sites in this area would be adequate. Now that we've selected our sites within the polyhouse area, we need to work out where we're going to dig each individual hole. So in this case, where the drip line irrigation system is in place, we come down, we can put a small hole in the plastic about 10 centimetres from the actual drip line. This is where we will actually sample our soil from. To be able to do our soil samples for our texturing and profiling, we need a handheld 100mm soil auger, a tape measure, some sort of water bottle for being able to do our texturing test, diluted hydrochloric acid for the fizz test. We will need a soil survey field sheet to write on the data. And in this demonstration I will be doing soil pH. Now a lot of growers may not have a pH test kit, but they are readily available. Okay, now we start taking our samples with the auger, about 100ml at a time. Dig it out, pull it out. Now we want to lay it out in a row, in a line on the ground. And the idea of this is to try and depict any change in soil colour or any other types of texture changes. It's just 100ml, an auger full at a time. Lay it out in a line. You knead it together so you can depict any changes. Nice damp soil. Now we can see there is a colour change from a dark chocolate brown to more of a reddy brown. So you see the dark chocolate brown, and now it's changed to quite red. What we need to do now is measure the depth of our hole, because there is a distinct change in the soil. So just tape measure down the hole to ground level. It's 35 centimetres. So we'll record that on our field sheet. The depth of the first layer, 35 centimetres. So we'll continue on, take a little bit more. In vegetables like this, we probably only need to go down to 60-70 centimetres, because the plant roots aren't going to be any lower. All we're really doing now is looking at the subsoil layers. The dark chocolate brown is the topsoil, and generally the red will be getting into a heavier clay, and it's more the subsoil. It's getting a lot drier now, and this will be the last sample. I can feel with the auger it's actually getting quite crunchy, so to me it says it's either very dry or we could be getting into some rubbly soil. Now there is a bit of a change here. It has gone from the bright or deeper red to some bits of more paler whitish colour. It has definitely lightened up, so that will be another layer. we measure the hole again, and that's 45 centimetres. But I could also feel with the auger that it had changed. It was nice and soft at the top, got a bit heavier into this red layer, and then the bottom really started getting crunchy. So I could distinctly feel the 3 different layers. So we'll record that at 45 centimetres, and that will be enough sample for... Okay, now we need to do our texturing of the soil profile. So we'll grab a handful of dirt from the first layer, and what we need to do is wet up what they call a bolus. This is the dirt in my hand. We only want to wet it up to what they call field capacity. You don't want it too sloppy and muddy or too dry. So you can see there it's sticking to my hands because the soil was quite wet already. So we just want to work that reasonably quickly, get the moisture through it, tiny bit more. And then we need to press the soil out between your thumb and forefinger, which is known as ribboning. So put it into the other hand and try and just slide the soil out onto your hand till it breaks off under its own weight. Do it a few times. It's very sticky. Slide it out. They're breaking off pretty much the same. Slide it out. So there's 3, and they're average pretty much the same length. We now measure the length of the ribbon, which is about 50 millimetres. 50 millimetres. Then we look at our chart to give us an idea of what the soil texture is. So first of all, if you go down the ribbon length column, and it says here a clay loam is 40 to 50 mils, or a light clay is 50 to 75, so it's in that vicinity. Now we look at the description of the moist bolus to pick which one best suits it. So the first one, clay loam, is a coherent and plastic bolus, smooth to manipulate. Well, it was coherent, it sticks together. Or the light clay is a smooth plastic bolus, slight resistance to shearing, very smooth to touch. Now, you can feel the sand grains in it. It's not like plasticine, so I would say it is a clay loam. That then is recorded on your field sheet under texture for the first layer, CL for clay loam. So now we'll do the same thing for our second layer, which is the red colour dirt. Same thing, grab a handful of dirt, get it into a moist bolus. Now this is a bit drier. I can feel the soil's drier. So wet it up slowly, and I really feel straight away that this is quite clayey, it's very sticky, and it's dense, a lot denser than the top dark chocolate brown layer. This is the beauty of doing the ribboning yourself for each layer, because you can feel a difference, the distinct difference as you go. Now this is very solid. You can see it's forming like into a rod. That's wet enough. Now we'll try and ribbon this out exactly the same. Push it out between the thumb and forefinger, and look at this. Much longer ribbon. It's very sticky and very solid. Slide it out. It's sticking to my hands now and breaking off. So I know that's a clay. It's quite dense. Measure our ribbon length. So I've got about 80 to 90 millimetres. Look at our chart again. Go right down to the bottom. We've got 50 to 75 mils or 85 to 100. If we just look at both descriptions, smooth plastic bolus, slight resistance to shearing. Shearing means pushing it out between your thumb and forefinger. Or a smooth plastic bolus, handles like plasticine and can be moulded into rods. High resistance to ribboning. Well, it's definitely a medium clay because it's very hard to ribbon out and dense. Right, now we have to decipher the colour of each layer. This is purely just looking at what colour you visually see it looks like. So the first layer is a dark brown, chocolate brown. So we're just on the field record sheet, have a colour. So just put DB for dark brown. The second layer you can see is distinctly a reddy colour. So just put red. And the bottom layer, it did change to more of a motley, whitey, light red. So you would put sort of whitish whitish red, because that tells me straight away that the whitey colour, it would be probably a carbonate layer. Next we have to do our fizz test. This is to see if there's any carbonate within the layers, because most plants don't like carbonate in the soil. It is a restrictive a barrier to the plants. So what we do is take our diluted hydrochloric acid, which is 1 part hydrochloric acid to 10 parts rainwater or distilled water, and all we simply do is put a little bit on the soil after we've done all our other tests, because we don't want acid in the soil when we're doing texturing and those sorts of things. So we just need to take some of the soil, and we're looking for the reaction, if there's any fizz basically on the soil. So we put a little bit of acid on, a few pieces, and there's nothing, no reaction. So on your sheet, under carbonate reaction, the first layer is N for nil. So there's no reaction. Go to our second layer, pick a few pieces of soil, again. Oh, now there's a little bit of fizz, but it's not much. It's only slight. So we put S for slight. Now there is a sheet that we can use to tell us what the different fizzes are, or reactions, and that's that sheet here that says reaction to hydrochloric acid. N for nil is no fizz, S for slight, M for moderate is sort of, that's easily visible, and high or very high, or H and V, is really strong, thick bubbling. So we use that as a guide. And our last layer, we put some acid on here, and wow, look at that. We have quite a strong fizz. And if you remember when I was digging the hole, I said it felt really crunchy down in the bottom of the hole, and that's because we've hit this marley carbonate layer. Okay, so we put that as a V. On the third layer is a V for very strong reaction. So, as in regards to a carbonate class, the first one is no carbonate, so that's no carbonate class, is no problem. The second one is slight, so again that's no problem. But the third one is a V, so it is a carbonate class, and it would be a class 1 carbonate layer. Right, so now we're going to do our soil pH. I've just got a basic field soil pH test kit, and that comprises of a white tile to put our soil on, some indicator and powder, a mixing stick, and a colour chart to see what pH. So all we need to do is take a small sample of soil, moist soil, put it on the tile, get any rocks out of it. You don't need a lot of dirt. And we put our indicator on here, just to mix it up into a moist paste. So mix it up. If you get it too wet, you can always put a little bit more dirt with it. You want to mix it up so it's moisture's going right through it. So that's nice. And we sprinkle some of the powder on it. And we leave this for 30 seconds or so till the powder changes colour. Once the powder has changed colour, we can check the soil colour against our colour chart. Couple more seconds. Sort of a grainy purpley colour. So 7.5 is quite close. 8 is too mauve. So I would say it's in the vicinity of about pH of 7.5, which is quite reasonable.